Back when the GameCube was releasing, Nintendo was trying to regain their third-party support after a very lackluster showing on their previous console, the Nintendo 64. One of the deals they struck was the famously infamous Capcom 5, a deal in which Capcom would produce 5 exclusive games for the Nintendo GameCube. Almost all of these eventually got ported to other consoles, or just straight up cancelled. One of those games being Resident Evil 4, developed alongside a full, ground-up remake of the original Resident Evil, removing some of the burrs of the series premiere and bringing it up to modern console standards. Or rather, setting the standard going forward for what survival horror games could accomplish, along with stellar graphics that, at the time, could only be accomplished with pre-rendered backgrounds. It was a huge success, and immediately led people to start asking, hey, when is Resident Evil 2 getting this treatment? Years later, after the critical but far from financial failure that was Resident Evil 6, Capcom shelved the mainline series for a number of years, letting games like Revelations 1 and Revelations 2 hit the market. The success of those more horror-focused titles was enough of a sign to Capcom. The fans wanted the scares back. So, they took a page from the popular demo, PT, from their rival franchise Silent Hill, and put the series into first person, a mainline first for the series. And it was a success, a huge success. But what could they follow it up with? Well, in 2015 they announced to the world that they were working on the long-awaited remake of Resident Evil 2, which finally released in March of 2019. I'm not going to sugarcoat this one. There will be no back and forth, love and hate bits with this one. I absolutely adore the remake of Resident Evil 2. This is a critical look, sure, just like the last one, but it is one looking at the game with nothing but admiration. Resident Evil 2 is, in my opinion, the gold standard for remaking a video game. Some will probably disagree with that. I don't care. This game is near perfect in my eyes, and it's time to talk about it. Whereas the remake of Resident Evil 1, otherwise dubbed Remake, took the same exact tank control combat of the game it's based off of, RE2 Make picked up a much different approach. Resident Evil 4 introduced the franchise to an over-the-shoulder camera, the first gameplay change-up the mainline franchise had ever seen. Future games would refine this gameplay style, but even with Resident Evil 7 changing things up yet again for a first-person viewpoint, the series has never really been able to shake that third-person perspective it's been known for. At this stage, it's a decently synonymous gameplay style with Resident Evil as a whole, and 2-Make doesn't try to fight this. That being said, the game feels nothing like Resident Evil 4, despite looking like it. Movement can now happen while aiming. You're not confined to only walking forward, and it takes a while for your crosshairs to focus to do max damage, whereas in 4, from the get-go, you're able to fire with reckless abandon. Zombies take a hell of a lot more damage, and deal a lot more damage as well. For this specific reason, you're going to see me using unlockable weapons a lot in the footage used for this video, just to make the footage capturing part a lot easier. See, here's the thing. Switching to the unlockable weapons makes my gameplay go from this... Oh my god, get away from me! Please, please, die! Just fucking die! Jeez! Oh god! Come on! Are you dead? Please be dead. You're not dead, are you? You're not dead! Get out of here! Oh god! Oh my god! Get off of me! Oh please! To a much more manageable... Oh, get fucked, idiot. You stupid moron. Stupid dumbass zombie. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Get out of here. Fuck you. Fuck you too. Look, I earned these weapons by buying them, but I'm gonna use them anyway. Where 4 has you slowly climbing a ladder to where you feel invincible by the end of the game, here it's a completely different story. 2-Make looks you dead in the eyes and says, "Hey, I'm gonna bully the shit out of you," and then proceeds to dunk your head in the toilet for the entirety of the game. And I'm already pretty bad at it as it is. The dynamic difficulty of Resident Evil 4 is back, meaning if you keep dying, the enemy health will decrease and their AI will get less aggressive, giving you a bit of a break. But then once you start popping skulls like balloons, it'll start to ramp things back up again, to what it considers average for the difficulty that you have selected. This game is fucking disgusting. In a good way. Capcom debuted their RE engine with RE7, and if you've played both, that much is obvious. A lot of the assets are reused from game to game, but it's never distracting. What's visually striking in this one is some of the more intense gore effects. Resident Evil 7 had moments, sure, but 2 has it completely outclassed. Like, Ugh, can I even show this? Oh god, that's disgusting. Oh my god. On release, the game hit a solid 60 frames per second on PS4, with some dips into the 50s, but very rarely. But we're not playing the release PS4 version yet again, we're playing the enhanced PlayStation 5 version with ray tracing. Ooh. Yeah, ray tracing mode kinda sucks. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what it adds to the game. Just that it makes the frame rate stutter like hell. The PlayStation 5 version also adds a high frame rate mode, but my TV can't handle that. Plus, you're out of your fucking mind if you think I'm gonna be rendering and uploading 120 frames per second footage to YouTube. No, thank you. So, we're sticking with the regular version. Still, the image quality is stellar. This, much like God of War, is one of those games that, if graphics quality stopped here, I think I'd be okay with that. And it really confuses me as to how games that look way worse on this console can only manage a stuttery 30 frames per second. Fucking moron. Stupid. So if you played Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 1, then you get the bullet points of this remake. This isn't a ghosts trying to keep you from changing history situation, no. There are no major changes in the story from beat to beat, and everything is about the same. Two people run into each other on the outskirts of the city, go in together, separate, and have their own little separate adventures until both end up in an exploding underground lab where the G virus was created, and make it out by the skin of their teeth. On the same train. Nothing about that has changed. On the PS1, RE2 was released on 2 discs, one for Leon, one for Claire. Upon beating the game, you get to go back on the other disc and play the other campaign, now with a B-side option, and either character working as the opposite A-side. RE2 Make does something similar, letting you go back and redo the game on a B scenario starring the other character. It's slightly shorter, but only by a little bit, making some key items quicker to get to, while rearranging just about everything in the game. My Leon A campaign clocked in at 4.5 hours, while my Claire B campaign came in at 3.5. Even while using bonus weapons, a campaign lasting about 5 hours might come in as too short for a full $60 game. The addition of the B scenario, making the whole package closer to 10 hours, definitely feels like a more complete package. This definitely is a problem in the follow-up game, Resident Evil 3 Remake. On PS1, 3 Make lacks a second campaign, but is decently long. Using the same level of assets, 3 Make can only squeeze out a similar campaign length to the A campaign of 2 Make. Resident Evil, up until 4, really liked to focus on 2 different playable characters. RE1 had Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, 3 had Jill as the main protagonist, and sections where you play as Carlos, and a similar setup in Code Veronica. Even 4 lets you play as Ashley in one chapter, but she's far from a shared protagonist. Leon S. Kennedy is essentially the default option, both showing up first and being on the Disc 1 scenario in the original game. He's a rookie cop, just getting transferred as the T-Virus starts to run rampant in Raccoon City. He's green but trained, and while maybe a little bit hot-headed, just wants some answers as to why these tragic events have occurred at all. Claire Redfield is the secondary, shared protagonist, being Chris Redfield's sister. She's coming to check on him after Chris went dark following the events of the Spencer Mansion from the first game. She's a self-sufficient character though, not standing in her brother's shadow, and unlike Jill in the first game, who had a noticeable handicap versus Chris, Claire's gameplay is 1-for-1 with Leon's, and it is far from the easy mode option that Jill kind of filled in the first game. Marvin appears very briefly in the original, but has a much more prominent role in this game, serving as almost a guide and hub NPC in the opening hours of the game. He'll casually guide Leon or Claire where they need to go, but from moment 1, he's bit. So, you know he's not gonna last long. And at some point, when you come back to the main hall... Oh no, Marvin. Marvin, oh man. Anyway, Ada Wong is an FBI agent that Leon runs into partway through his campaign, and is quick to tag along when she promises him that they'll find out why all of this had to happen. even being playable for a brief chapter. Of course, when the final moment comes, she reveals herself to be a mercenary, just trying to sell the G-Virus to the highest bidder. Still, she has a clear soft spot for Leon, tossing him the killing weapon during his boss fight with Mr. X. Good on you, Ada. Sherry Birkin serves as a similar companion in Claire's campaign, a little girl abandoned during the T-Virus epidemic, who has a lot more ties to the events at hand than even she knows. Ooh. Chief Irons is a sack of shit, absolutely written with the intent for you to hate his guts. And it works! He abuses Sherry, actively tries to kill her at various points of the game, definitely killed this poor girl, and is probably a rapist as well. Fuck him. Annette Birkin, Sherry's mother, is the scientist who helped William Birkin, her husband and Sherry's father, create the G-Virus, and is actively trying to find him? Stop him? She always seems busy throughout the game, but unless I miss something, it's not really clear as to what she's trying to accomplish, besides just finding William, I guess. A lot of her dialogue about the events at hand is just boiled down to taking notes, or fuck you die on occasion. And then, well, there's this truck driver who, like, takes a big bite of a burger, and then he's got a bite taken out of him. So that's cool. These characters mesh together super well. For me, the hallmark of a good villain is being able to empathize with them and see the reason they're committing the actions opposite the main character. And RE2 Make is chock full of these kinds of villains. Ada, Annette, and William Birkin. Not Chief Irons, he fucking sucks, I hate him. This game has plenty to play with, and the interpersonal relationships between the characters are dynamic and compelling. The most compelling? No. We're not getting Oscar-level writing here, but horror with complex characters will always be a win in my book. Resident Evil has always shown immaculate care and detail to the weapons that they implement in their games. This is no exception. During your journey throughout the Raccoon City Police Department, you'll find a variety of weapons, all that help you shit all over the undead. If some of these weapons start to feel weak as you progress through the game, that's on purpose. You are rewarded for exploring and checking out every little nook and cranny. Safe codes, locker combinations, weapons locker key cards. There are little bonuses riddled throughout the game to give you anything from more healing items to hit pouches that increase your inventory size to add-ons that enhance your existing weapons. Stocks, muzzle brakes, magazines, new barrels, these all expand what your weapon can do in one way or another, whether that's making your aim steadier, fine-tuning the spread of your bullets, increasing your ammo capacity, or even just increasing damage output. There are a lot of weapons that fall into the pistol category in this game. Leon's Matilda and Lightning Hawk, and his B-Scenario exclusive weapon, the M19, Claire gets the SLS-60, the JMB HP3, and her own second-run exclusive, the Quick Draw Army. These all do a variety of damage and don't even all take the same ammo, but all deliver pinpoint precision, some more than others, some fire faster than others, and some blow people's fucking heads off. Leon's shotgun does something similar, best used to get up close and personal, doing a ton of damage in one blow. Claire's MQ-11 SMG is sort of a mix. It's not great at a distance, but it fires quick. Her grenade launcher is a bit more potent, letting you switch between fire or acid rounds for whatever kind of damage you want to do. Leon's chemical flamethrower is a chemical flamethrower. I don't think I can define that any better if I tried. Claire's spark shot is an interesting one, firing out a needle into your enemy and forcing you to keep your reticle on where you hit them to do more damage over time, until it explodes. And the minigun is a minigun! Congratulations, Resident Evil! Crafting your own bullets was a concept that I believe debuted in Resident Evil 3 on the PS1, missing out on the game this remake is based off of. Still, the developers chose to include it in 2 Make, and it fits nicely. In a game all about resource conservation, having to make a choice as to what ammo type you want to mix together, or if you should wait for a better option, just adds to that tension the entire game is built around. Knives, while formerly just being an unlimited source of damage, have been tweaked heavily. They are now breakable, and you find them all over the game world. They also come in handy when you're grabbed by a zombie, giving you an option to stab them and throw them off. You can also do this with grenades. Beating 2 Make on varying difficulties and with varying times will reward you special unlocks. An infinite ammo rocket launcher, minigun, SMG, pistol, and knife. Or you can just buy these. Healing items have always been done phenomenally well in the Resident Evil series. Your health has 3 specific stages: Fine, Caution, and Danger. Getting hit lowers you to the next progressive stage, some attacks doing more damage than others. Healing items come in the spray and herb variety. First aid spray is just a flat heal. No matter what level of health you're at, it'll return you to full. Herbs are much more complex. The green herb is the main healing item, usually bringing you up to the next level of health with varying success rates. Red herbs are the accessory to this. Mixing a red and a green herb together essentially replicates the effect of the first aid spray. No matter what health you're at, you'll always be brought up to full. And then there's the blue herb, which heal you from the toxic status effect. But there are no enemies that deal toxic, right? Zombies, as previously stated, have gotten a massive overhaul in this entry. Their health is essentially random, adding to that uneasiness of combat when you never know if you'll have enough bullets to kill one, along with the fact that if they're on the ground, there's always a possibility they'll get back up, and you'll have to start over. Unless you start popping their heads like a watermelon, then you're good. Dogs can be obnoxious little fuckers, and that's true in this game as well. They're fast, they attack in packs, but they have low health, so a few shots and they're out for the count. And I assume that that's the case in this game too. Lickers made their debut in the original Resident Evil 2, and after a stellar and extremely memorable introduction, have scarcely been used since. Only a few times have they appeared in the mainline Resident Evil games. This works to its benefit though, as when they do show up, it feels more powerful, and coupled with such a fantastic design, they're easily my favorite enemy of the whole series. While being incredibly strong and dangerous, the Licker is blind as a bat, only relying on its ears to find you. So, if we stay extra quiet and sneak past him, we won't even have to fight him. Or, a little deeper into the game, when you finally get to the sewers, you're going to encounter these fleshy, globby, undulating things. These are lesser G monsters, and they suck. Getting grabbed by one will make it puke all over you and give you the toxic effect. That's right, toxic shows up. Being toxic will make you cough, taking away the ability to aim and shoot for a brief time, which can make dealing with enemies obnoxious. A blue herb will remove this effect from you. However, when combined with a red herb, it also adds a layer of protection, meaning if you get grabbed by a lesser G while still under this protective effect, you won't be affected with toxic. Mixing all 3 herbs will heal you fully, remove toxic, and give you the protective shield against further cases of toxic. The Ivy zombies appear at the tail end of the game, as a result of, quote, Plant 43 infecting existing zombies. They have bulbs all over their bodies, and popping them will make them fall over, but not die. The only way to really be rid of them is to set them on fire. There are really only 2 bosses in this game that just keep showing up with changed combat each time. No, I'm not counting the alligator, crocodile, whatever. Type G, or otherwise known as William Birkin, is the creator of the G-Virus, and is a prominent boss encounter, following Leon and Claire all throughout the game. He serves both as Claire's A scenario final boss, and both Leon and Claire's final boss in the B scenario. Every new interaction with him, he's mutated further until he's absolutely unrecognizable as William, which, of course, is when you learn who he really is. The real star of the show is Mr. X. During your time playing 2-Make, you'll keep coming back to the Raccoon City Police Department, and early on we'll run into Mr. X, a tall, beefed-up dude with gray skin, a trench coat, and a fedora. He's like if Thanos was a school shooter. Anyway, once he's revealed himself to you, he'll chase you throughout the building to no end, hitting you hard if he catches you. Even once you've lost him, and he's actively looking for you, you'll still hear his footsteps a few rooms over. He can't chase you into any room, but he can certainly chase you into a lot of them. In this room in the clock tower, you're safe from him, but almost as an overcorrection, they made his footsteps echo extra loudly in this one. On my first playthrough, I didn't know he couldn't come into this room, and spent maybe 2 minutes huddled into this dead-end corner, scared he was gonna come in and smack me. By the end of the game, he'll show back up a few times more before Leon's A scenario final boss with some extra mutations. Oh shit! Oh! Along with several extra costumes, some of which really silly. 2Make is chock full of little bonus modes. Most of these hit post-release for free. And while not quite as good as the main campaign, they all add little fun extra scenarios you can play through. Fourth Survivor has you step into the shoes of fan-favorite character Hunk, the Grim Reaper himself, waking up a few minutes before his extraction helicopter leaves the city, making you rush through a few sections of the game to get to the extraction point. Tofu Survivor is the same, but you play as various blocks of tofu. No, this isn't a joke. I mean, it is a joke, but it's also real. It's very real. You're playing as, here's the tofu. The Ghost Survivors are non-canon scenarios where you step into the shoes of various people you run into throughout the game, all of which are trying to get out of the city. In No Time to Mourn, you play as Robert Kendo, the gun shop owner with an infected daughter Leon runs into partway through his story. In Runaway, you play as Catherine Warren, the dead body you find in Chief Iron's office, who is noticeably not dead. At least yet. In Forgotten Soldier, you play as a USS agent, Ghost, the corpse you see early in the underground lab who is, you guessed it, not dead. And then when you beat all of these, you unlock No Way Out, a pseudo-endless mode where the zombies get worse and worse until you can finally make it out of the gas station, playing as the cop you found in the gas station. Notice how there isn't any footage of this scenario. That's because I haven't beaten these. Whoops. Resident Evil 2 Remake exploded a resurgence of horror shooters made in similar veins, most of them often being quoted as taking direct inspiration from Capcom's work. It is a shining example not only of a standout game, but a game that affects the game industry around it. Sure, 3Make was not as well received, but I think that only came down to the fact that it didn't have a B campaign by design, the fact it didn't implement the Mr. X system with Nemesis, and being directly compared to RE2Make. Made in a vacuum, it's a solid 7.5 out of 10. But even with the remake having less than preferred reception, Capcom is still chugging along with more remakes. 4 will be releasing soon using assets from the previously released Resident Evil Village, and I can already see what parts will be used. I love Resident Evil 4, and will be there day one when this game drops. I think I'll save more thoughts about the original Resident Evil 4 for a future video. In summary, as I said countless times before, Resident Evil 2 Remake is fighting for top spot, not only of my favorite in the series, but favorite horror game and favorite game of all time. Maybe I'll dive more in depth on that sort of list in the future, but for now all I have to say is that if you enjoy horror games and haven't touched this one, let alone the series, I think it warrants a deep dive. So much of this franchise is worth looking at, not the movies, and is sure to give any horror fan some good scares.